Good evening, Shaggy SoCal 2Old4Forza, and time for the next season of Thursday Night Thunder. And the season they're driving the Bentley Continental GT3. Beast of a car. I had a lot of fun driving at Sebring for an in-between season event. But yeah, as it may, the first race this season, I think, looking at the schedule, this is going to be, I think, the hardest track get to get this Bentley around consistently. Those of us that have driven the car, we know the two big issues with it is it's got a smidge bit of understeer to it, but more, I think the bigger issue that we're all dealing with is the wheel spin at the back end. Again, the car's got a twin turbo V8 sitting in it, so there's a lot of torque, especially when the boost kicks in. But what I'm going to do is, like I always do, I'm just going to run a couple of demo quick, out laps, kind of talk you through it there, then maybe break down the corner by corner what I'm trying to do to get this Bentley around Laguna. And then I'll just do, for kicks and giggles, I'll do a mock race of probably what I think is about half distance for what we'll race on Thursday. But hopefully there's some things that you pick up to help you get this Bentley around Laguna. And again, looking at the schedule, I think this is going to be the most difficult track. We're getting the difficult one out of the way first. So with that, let me just go ahead and go into test drive. I'll probably do 2 laps so we can get a good run through turn 1. But coming or turn 2, coming up, turn 1 technically is this turn right here. Turn 2 is the Andretti hairpin down to 2nd gear, and I'm going to totally blow that. That's why we're going to do another lap. But you might play at late apex, roll into the throttle, 3rd gear, up to 4th briefly, brake just before the 2, 3rd gear, roll into the throttle, 4th gear, brake at the 2, you use a lot of the curve there, roll back into the throttle. Notice I'm rolling back in, I'm really not getting back to the throttle until I get to the apex. Brake at the 3 board, just past the bridge, down to 3rd gear, look for the shack, heading up the hill, leave it in 4th 2, use a little bit of that curving, gently roll back into the throttle as you get to the edge. Up the hill, hardest part of the track here, getting the braking right. I'm only getting down to 3rd, release, back on the brakes again, turn in late, a little bit wide, roll back in, short shift to 4th, off camber on the exit here, careful the wheel spin, down to 3rd, up 4th, brake right at the line before the 2, down to 2nd gear, into the final hairpin, onto the front stretch. So let's just do another lap here. Maybe I'll get turn 1 or turn 2 correct this time around. It's still a little wide, but that's alright. This might be better at wide entry with a late apex, but always gently roll back into the throttle. You can leave it in 3rd there if you want to bang it off the rev limiter. But that turn is still a 3rd gear. Up to 4th. You can do this one in 3rd as well. I might flip back and forth between 3rd and 4th there. This I'll still do in 3rd. You can do this turn in 3rd as well if you want. I prefer 4th. That's a little bit, but I spoke too soon. The front end hook. And down, finish off the lap. Alright. This car is a handful, and I'm actually, for these laps, I'm not using traction control. It would not a bad thing to use it. If you're really struggling with the wheel spin, use traction control. I probably won't. I prefer not to unless it's absolutely necessary. But anyhow, let's break down the lap. Come down here to the Andretti hairpin. Technically turn 2, though I will probably sometimes call it turn 1. The braking for me, again, any of these braking boards that are on the edge of the track, I guarantee you we're going to knock them all over before the end of the race, especially with it being, around a 70-minute race. So usually one of the things, if I got somebody in front of me and I don't know exactly where, the braking line is, another reference point is where the pavement there changes coloring, uh, just off on the other side of the white line. That's usually a good indicator of where you really, if you're not braking by the time you get to that, it's too late. You're going to blow the corner. And so you'll be fifth gear down to second. And I think if you're going to use traction control, you can probably really follow the braking line through the Andretti hairpin. I might, and this is where I'm still trying to play with it because I've done it both ways. I've hugged, kind of followed what the braking line suggests. There are the times I've taken a slightly wider entry and late apex the hairpin on the backside here. Um, in either case, this is about where I want the car to be exiting the Andretti hairpin, and you're going to hear me probably say this a lot with this car is squeeze the throttle. This is not the CRX. This isn't where you could treat the throttle like a light switch and just turn it on and off. You really have to practice rolling the throttle. I'd even challenge you if you're using traction control, um, still try to get into that habit. I mean, traction control is great, to prevent the rear tires from spinning and prevent you from, losing the back of the car. But, there are some detriments as well as far as how the car handles. So if you can find that balance point of rolling into the throttle, knowing when traction control is going to want to kick in and try to keep it from kicking in until maybe the car is absolutely straight, that may help your lap times there. But for me, again, I'll be slowly squeezing into the throttle. I probably won't really be committing back to full throttle till I'm really out of the corner and pointed straight. And that's where I'll be back on full throttle. So second gear up to third. Depending on my mood, I might leave it in third. You leave it in third here for turn three. If you've gotten turn two right, you'll be banging the rev limiter right about where you need to brake. If you feel more comfortable putting up into fourth, that's fine. Regardless, when you hit the brakes, it's going to be right before where the two board is. Um, it's you. Yeah, there's no other. I'm assuming that board's going to be gone during the race, but just know, as you start getting to this little white curving, it's maybe dare I say, maybe a third of the way is probably where you're going to really start to brake. Uh, and again, if you're going to leave it in third, you might be banging the rev limiter. That might help you go, oh, yep, I got to brake now. If you're in fourth, that's fine. Regardless, it will be a downshift into third. And you can use a bit of this inside curving without fear. Roll back into the throttle, back to full throttle here, racing down to turn four. I usually put it in fourth. This turn, we talked a lot about, we're probably all going to be complaining about the wheel spin. This car does tend to also has a little bit of understeer, and I say a little bit. It's really, you notice it in a corner like here. When I was running at Spa, there's a couple places at Spa I could tell that the front wanted to push a little bit. It's not horrible. It's not the worst understeery car we've ever raced. So completely manageable. But for me, this is the one turn I think that's going to catch me out if I'm not paying attention. But usually what I'm looking for is about, and again, I keep pointing the boards out, but as you're practicing, kind of get into rhythm and get a feel for where that two board is. If you notice, it kind of lines up with the tents there on the left of where they kind of go out of view, or where the Mazda tower there is. Um, you know, brake right about, I think it's about the latest you want to brake. And it's not a heavy brake. It's more like a trail brake. You just want to scrub a little bit of the speed. Going in, you can downshift to third if you want. I'm usually turning in as I get past the one, or as I reach the edge, that last dark blue painted curbing is where I'm starting to do the turn in. And if I've done it right, you can be off the throttle and slowly rolling in. You can use a lot of this curb here, and I try to get it to the red curb, the red, or I guess that's a, I don't know if that's a bread loaf or what they call those, the red bump. But I'm trying to use that as far as is gauging where the apex is, and I'm going to use as much curb as I can if I get the turn in right. So third or fourth gear, again, roll out of the throttle. Probably won't be full throttle till I get to the edge here. Going back up through the gears, fourth gear. Coming down to turn 5. Again, depending on how you get out of 4, you might be able to wind it out in 4th. If you feel more comfortable putting up into 5th, that's up to you. Braking for turn 5 is just past, again, I'll say the 3 board, which will probably not be there during the race. But it's also, just figure you're going to want to be braking just as you get under the mother's bridge. So if you're braking as you get there, that's pretty good. Heavy brake. For me, this is third gear corner. Turn in. Again, I'm looking for the red curbing. I'm going to use as much of the curbing as I can. And then what I'm looking for, when I talked about the shack, it's hard to point out. I'm pointing at the screen. You guys can't see what I'm doing. So you kind of see what looks to be the. You just drive up to it. It's not the green kind of outhousey, porta potties there. But if you look just up a little bit further, you'll kind of see. I'm going to call it a flag stand. That's probably what it is. But that's with the white roof there. That's kind of what I'm looking for as I'm exiting this corner to I get the car kind of pointed that way as I'm bringing it out, and then just making sure that I don't follow it all the way out, but straighten the car out. Usually that helps get me on line to get out of turn 5. Again, third gear up to 4th. Braking for turn, 4, 5. Turn 6 is again, it's going to be about where the 2 is. If that's gone, it's probably just as you get to the Pepsi signs there. Again, this one, depending on how you feel, you can do it. You can brake for it and downshift to 3rd if you want. You can leave it in 4th. My preference, I think, is going to be 4th, just because I don't think the wheel spin is as horrible if I keep it in 4th. But again, if I'm going to brake, I'm going to turn the car in. I'm really not going to commit back to the throttle. I'll start rolling into the throttle as I get out. But again, the way this corner is, it is banked as you get into the apex, and as you exit the corner, it does kind of get a little bit off camber. You can kind of see I'm kind of tilted to the right here. So just be careful as you exit. You're really not going to be getting back to full throttle until you get out to the right side of the track here. But even then, be careful getting to full throttle. Even in 3rd or 4th gear, you'll still feel the rear tire spin up if you're not using traction control, or if you are using traction control, you'll see it kick in. And you really don't. And the worst thing then to do is to actually get the tires onto the curbing when the wheel spin hits, because it will upset the car. But you do it right, 4th gear up the hill. I'm going to leave it in 4th. I'm going to bring the car back across. I'm going to use the curbing here and just kind of apex it. And here's the tricky thing. Heading into, and I'm guessing that, let's see, 6, 7, corkscrew's 8. So I think that little kink there is 7, technically by Laguna's track maps. But heading into the corkscrew, it is completely blind as you crest the hill. So what I'm trying to do is I'll use the braking line a little bit to help me get lined up. But again, if I apex using this curbing as the apex, and I'm going to kind of hug to the left side, as I get to the end, I'm going to start bringing the car back across, and maybe just as you start to see the treetops crest, over the top of the hill is when I'm going to brake. And usually how my eyes are until it's gone, I will be looking for the 3. But if you can see, the trees aren't going to move. So use that as your braking. And this one I'm downshifting to 3rd only. And what I'm trying to do is and it's risky because I've gotten burned a couple of times, is I'm doing a lot of heavy braking initially until I get to the curb here. And as I kind of hit the apex, I'm releasing the brakes just ever so slightly to get the car parallel with the right side of the course. And then I'll reapply the brakes. I'm not necessarily coming all the way out off the brakes. I'm just releasing enough so that I can turn the car. And then get right back on. And if I've done it right, I'll downshift to third, and I'm going to turn in right about where I hit the end of the curbing here on the right side. I'm going to use a little bit of the inside curbing, and I'm trying to get the car pointed straight across down to the exit of the corkscrew. This part of the corkscrew, the exit of the corkscrew is going to drive us all crazy. Because the car does weird stuff through here. Now, I can fairly consistently, as I bring the car across third gear, I really haven't committed back to the throttle. I'm not trying to get to the throttle until I get into, the apex of this curve, into the banking, and I'm still squeezing the throttle on the exit because it is coming out. You're going to crest over. It's a little bit off camera on the exit. I'm trying to keep the car at best mid-track. I'm not trying to go all the way out. In a lot of cases, I sometimes cut it so much that I'm almost exiting on the right side of the track. But in either case, at third gear, I tried to bring the car back over, short shifting to fourth as I get to the beginning of the curbing here on the right side, and then feathering the throttle. I'm really just kind of letting the car roll through here on its own, not committing back to the throttle till I get to the apex, and even then I'm rolling here. It's another kind of banked entry to the apex and an off camera on the exit. So as you exit and you exit out to the right side here, you're going to feel the back tires, again, if you're running traction control or not, you're either going to feel the back tires spin up and the back end's going to start to slide out, or traction control is going to kick in. I should just start saying TC and make my English better. So again, I'm still in fourth gear here. Bring the car back across. Brake about 2. Maybe about 2. I forget where I'm braking for here. I'm braking somewhere around here, but definitely you're going to do a quick brake. I'm going down to third for the turn in, and turning in again, looking for the red bump there. Apex out. That turn's going to look completely different without the tire barriers. Well, back up, third gear, back up to fourth, bring the car back across. Braking for the final turn is right at the blend line for the entry to pit lane. So I'm going to brake just as I get to this line here. Brake down to third, down to second. And I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use as much. I'm going to actually probably start getting on the curbing to set up for the last turn. And then as I turn in, I'm going to use as much of the inside curbing as I can and roll back into the throttle. And again, it's a slow roll back in. I'm really not going to be committing back to full throttle until I get the car straight pointed where I can, if the rear tire is going to spin up, it's going to spin up, but I'm going to be pointed straight forward. If I have any steering in the car, I'm going to start, sliding the rear end around. So that is kind of the real quick down and dirty how I'm trying to hustle this car around Laguna Seca. Again, this car, this car track combo, again, is going to be a pain in the butt. We're all going to, be going, oh my God, this is horrible. I think if we can survive this race, I think then once we start getting into the meat of the season, there's some really nice tracks I think this car is going to do really well at. So let's survive Laguna and then go and have a really good season. So with that, I'm going to end the test drive. And sorry if this feels rushed. It's late. I'm a little bit tired, as you can tell by the yawning. Sorry. And let's do a mock race and see what we get. So I'm guesstimating. I'm going to do, and again, since we're now doing like the what I would call the enduro races this season with the race car, I'm going to do what I think is going to be about half distance. So don't be surprised if we're doing somewhere pushing, 45 to 48 laps, depending on how Matt calculates out the race time. But what I'm going to be racing against this season, and we'll be messing around with the grid order and the bucket delays, is bucket one up front is going to be Forza GT, same class that the Bentley's in, but I'm faster than the AI. Bucket two will go up a little bit and put the prototype racing group out there, and then I'll start in technically bucket three, but then behind me I'm going to throw three Forza P2 cars to run me down. But I think here, given the nature of the track, I don't think their top end speed is an advantage. So with that, go ahead and start the race and see what I can do. I think the other thing I'm going to try for kicks and giggles, I want to do the opening half of the race without traction control, because that's how I've been doing the majority of my practice. Then I'm going to just turn it on for the second half and just see if I can tell the difference in how the car feels. Fitting, two Mazda. That would have been cool if we would have gotten a trifecta of Mazdas in the P2 category, but I'll take two. I'm thinking, so I got 10 seconds left. Not the best start, but too much excessive wheel spin. So yeah, even rolling back into the throttle, you're going to hear the rear tires spinning up. A little too much brake. Oops. Here, I'd already downshifted. What am I doing? You notice I'm really not getting back to the throttle at all out of the corkscrew until I've got the car pointed down the hill. And you can do that one in fourth if you want. It looks like I'll have some traffic almost immediately. Whoa! So I think, for me as a controller user, I think this is where the haptic feedback on the triggers really help, because I can get the vibration there when the rear tires start to spin up. So it's one of the reasons, and again, here I'm going to let you know a little secret. Ideally, I really want the car to be on the right side of the track, getting out of the corkscrew, just to hedge my bets on somebody in front of me going wide. It opens up that whole right side of the track to set up a pass. Does mean I got to try and go around the outside, in the next corner, depending on positioning, but hey, it's the GT40 we raced a couple seasons ago. Yeah, see, went in a little too hot. You can do that one in third as well. But by the time you get out of the corner, you're right at the rev limiter. So that's kind of why I like going into that. Just getting into fourth and leaving it there. The AI has already taken out the braking boards for the Andretti hairpin. And I can't talk and drive at the same time. That should have been in third gear. I'm getting on the curbing a little bit. Pink pig. Excuse me. Did I mention that when I do these races, it's questionable racecraft? Pretty sure I have. You can use a lot of that curving on the last turn, but again, but use it at your own risk. 'Cause I don't know how much of a time penalty you'll get if you go too far. I mean, third I would do there in traffic. On my own, fourth, and third for the course. Third for the course. Late in the turn. Come on. Thank you, Mr. Aston Martin. I needed help making that turn. Thank you for the rotation. Definitely faster than the Chaparral, but not figuring out where it. There we go. Nope. Whoa! Sorry I'm not talking much, but this car does demand a lot of focus. Ooh, missed that braking. That's one reason I don't like running traction control unless it's one of the, unless it's like the F1 car. I just like having a little bit of, having that control over the wheel spin if I want to spin up the rear tires to rotate the car because they've messed up the entry. Okay, need to be a little cautious here. Oh, excuse me. How do you not see me? I'm the size of a house. Ooh, almost timed that right. Sorry. Yeah, that's the car we almost raced this season. Well, maybe not the exact car. Super Trofeo. Yeah, if you want to take the corkscrew in second, I would still advise. I mean, you're really not going to be going back to full throttle. Probably just go ahead and short shift up. You know, get it up into third, then get it up into fourth. I wouldn't recommend trying to wind it out in second out of the corkscrew. Go ahead and we'll run, we'll pit at lap 12. Again, you know, for a lot of these corners, after I release the brakes and turn in, you know, as I get to the apex, it's, oops, I'm gonna pick a gear. Oh, nope, I'm over here. Excuse me. It's, as I get past the apex, it's partial roll back into the throttle. I can't tell, I can't get my eyes down quick enough to see how much throttle I'm actually giving it. But, you know, it's not a full commitment back to power until the car is straight. We will box this lap. I just realized I don't have fuel and tire on. I have no idea what the tire wear is. I just know that it's the tires are going to wear. To state the obvious, Laguna I think is one of the more abrasive tracks in the game, as in real life. But I guess what we'll do is when I go to pit, I'll throw TC. Well, no, you know what? Whoops. Yeah, I'll throw TC on, but then what I'll do is I'll turn fuel and tire on, so we can get kind of a read of what tire life might look like. So let me just go ahead and do that now. Shift manual, yeah, fuel and tires, traction control on. Just know that it seemed, I don't want to say that the tire wear was high, but it was definitely like, oh, yeah, I think it was somewhere around 7 laps or so, I started noticing the fronts going yellow. So, unfortunately, since I can't do race regs replay, I can't do the exit we're going to be doing, but when you exit pit lane, you're just going to follow pit exit all the way down the left there through the Andretti hairpin and then rejoin on the backside here. Excuse me. He's still there. You notice I'm using a lot of curbing at the corkscrew, and yeah, I'm playing with fire there on time penalties, but I was there. With a dive bomb, I was there. You turned into me, so I'm going to escort you off on the exit. That was a bit of Forza glue. Oh, a little too hot. Ooh, big bog down. But that's the danger of traction control. So if I didn't have it on, I probably would have spun out. Whoa, look at that. That is why we use the proper pit lane. wasn't sure what was going to happen there. It's like, leave him just enough room. Yes, even though you have TC, you still want to be... Oops, didn't mean to do that. You still want to practice rolling into the throttle out of the corners. You know, if you snap to the throttle and you fully kick in traction control, I mean, you saw it happen in the last corner. You know, that's going to kill your exit speed and your lap time. Again, I can't talk and drive at the same time. Whoop. I wanted to see what traction control would bog me down out of the corkscrew, and it didn't. Bogged me down a little bit there. Oh, it's the pink pig. Yeah, I knew he was out there, just wasn't quite exactly sure where. The other thing I haven't really talked about it is just be careful, you know, when you're turning in, just, you know, if you're on these outside curbs, just be careful on turn in, because if you've gone a little too far and, you know, the outside rear gets, you know, dips into the sand, it's going to pitch the car sideways. Alright, I'm going to see if I can clock a quick lap here with TC on. Log down a little bit there. Actually, what I'm going to do is I want to run. I think for me, I'm going to run without it. I like the car feels a little bit freer. Ooh, a little late. What did I say about the car being a little bit freer without traction control? I got too used to it. Really big wing. Oh, cut that a little too much. No, I don't need my friction. There we go. Wow. So you might be looking at about 50% tire wear at about the halfway point of the race. So, and again, you know, we'll be doing a two-stop race, and I believe for these enduros, there you can do those two pits anytime you want. But yeah, you definitely won't have tires. Fuel looks like it'll be fine. They're not using all that much fuel. Where are we at? 7-0. I get into the 26th. It's possible, but it's gonna be a perfect lap. Very unpredictable car. Nope, doesn't look like I'm going to do it. It's possible, but not tonight. Yeah, so that's Laguna and the Bentley. Yeah, it's be mindful of the wheel spin. Again, if you're struggling with it, just turn on traction control. Just don't, even with TC on, still practice proper throttle application. Roll into the throttle coming out. The idea is you want the TC to kick in to prevent the car from getting out of control or getting the back end loose, but you don't want it kicking in early where it's going to bog you down. So, so again, even with TC on, don't treat the throttle like a light switch. You still want to roll in, roll out, and that then I think then the TC helps you more than it hurts you. Again, the mild push, for me, it's that flat turn 4 is where I notice it the most. And then just, let the car do the work a lot of cases, especially through the corkscrew. Once you kind of get in there, just, don't really worry about trying to get back to the throttle as quick as possible. Just let the car do the work, and when it gets straightened out, roll back in. But again, I would say, this will be, I think, the most difficult race we're going to have in the Bentley this season. I know Bathurst is later on, which will be the other track that is going to be a bit difficult to get consistent laps around. But hopefully, lessons learned here will help us down the road. But with that, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to stop streaming. I'm going to go to bed. Hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you Thursday. Happy racing.